bought $500 worth of Temu tools, so you didn't have to. However, not all of these are bad tools. Some of these are hidden gems, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, these are the worst of the worst. Avoid these, in my opinion. As you can see, $500 doesn't go as far as it used to, even on Temu. I bought all of this myself to figure out, is there hidden gems there, or is it all complete trash? Some of this stuff I think you'll be surprised by. Some of it is complete rip-offs of what's already on the market, especially here in the US. But is it worth it? Let's find out. I've got a few squares that I bought from Temu. I want to check, I didn't buy this from Temu. I'm gonna check it against the woodpecker square to see if they are accurate and let you know if it's worth the price. I'll pop the prices up of each product as we go, but just to make sure I have all the squares handy. So first up, this comes as a set. It's called a drawing line ruler. I really don't know what to use this for. I just bought it because it comes with this little square. These little flat squares can be handy sometimes. It has like a groove right there, probably for this thing to bolt into. They were probably, yep, that's what it's for. Where I thought this would be handy when I saw it was similar to this. It's basically a shoulder square so that you could take that mark all the way around your board, which a lot of times you need to do that, and something like this will help with that. That's the main reason I bought this, just to see if it would be useful for that, and it is. It bolts together. I don't necessarily like that, but once you bolt it together, it's just fine. How square is it? Let's find out. I mean, it's not the squarest in the land. There is a little bit of light shining close to the back side of this. Not a lot, but there is a tiny bit there. I don't know about this way. Is it square? No, it's absolutely not square that way. So as far as square goes, it's trash. But if you just need a shoulder mark, I mean, I don't know. I don't think this is it. This ain't the gem. Next up is this little flat square. I thought, you know, sometimes you just want a little flat square that lays flat. This one doesn't lay flat. It's got shoulders on it. Most all squares have shoulders on it. If this is square, this might be a little handy little tool to have. Especially for the price. It's real cheap, which most of this stuff is. It's kinda-ish square. The problem is, on this one, there's a little bit of light right in the center. It touches on top, touches on bottom, so it has a bow in it, which is trash. You can't use that kind of stuff. Nobody wants a bow in their square. The inside of the square is way off, especially on the top. Next up is this little thing. It's kind of very similar, not kind of, it is very similar to the Incra rulers. If you've seen those, they are quite flexible. They're also very fragile, so you don't want to be rough with these. This one came out of the package damaged right there on the corner. It's bent a little bit. Once you bend one of these, they're just kind of, you can't bend them back. But as far as this goes, it's all right. On the Incra, you can see it slides back and forth. It locks into place, and because of the way it's made, if you push it against that lip on the back, and when you snug these up, it's square. Now, this doesn't have that. This is basically just what you see is what you get. Just by the Incra. This is not good. This is an anodized aluminum square. It's got some holes in it for marking. It also is not square. Again, this is every square I've gotten so far from Temu is not square. I wouldn't buy square tools from Temu. It's just not, they're just not accurate. They're off exact same amount. Double check my woodpecker stuff. It's perfectly square to each other. It's just not worth it. I also bought this little setup gauge. I thought this would be kind of neat for the drill press or something to set heights, but man, is it jinky. Like, you can't adjust this thing at all. It locks. It just doesn't slide easily like it should. It does have some fine tuning, so if you're able to get it close, you could fine tune it up to where you wanted it. I don't know. You can set blade heights and bit heights too, because it has this little piece that sticks off the edge up to 1 inch. How useful is that to you? Maybe on the router bit, router table, something like that. This might be a little useful, but I think there's better tools out there than this. This just feels way too jinky. I also bought this little thing. I thought, man, this would be cool to draw angles with or something like that if you're needing to scribe lines for angles. Just set your angle and kind of go. The ruler will slide up and down inside this track. It has a track it runs on. Tighten the ruler down, it doesn't move. Then you can pivot this. Pivot! You can pivot this, tighten this little knob down, and then it locks into place. You can lock it at 90 or 0 as they have here on the scale. I don't know. There's other ways to do this, and to me, 0 is absolutely, well, that's wrong. 0 is not square. So you would have to take another square to make it square. It's just, this is kind of pointless to me. If I'm going to use this, then I would just pick up a T-bevel because it kind of does the same thing. I also picked up this little metric and imperial Tenon caliper. Gauge, it's got a gauge on each end. You can set on top of bits or things like that to set the heights of them. And then of course these little holes here that are 1/2, 3/8, 5/16 metrics on the other side. You tell me, would you use that? I don't think I would. Don't know why I bought that, just to have. Next up, I've got radius guides. If you've not seen those used, I've used them on the channel before, where I use them to create a radius on the end of a board. And the way they work is they just hook onto the end of a board, and then you hold them in place while you use a pattern bit on your router to hit that curve. I prefer the Kreg one that has a handle on the back. These are very similar to the ones I've shown before, the red anodized aluminum ones. This is one of those things I got suckered on. This was supposed to be, you could collapse this and make circles with it, right? That was the idea. You draw the circle. I thought, man, that might be neat to have, to be able to draw like a radius on the edge of a board that's bigger than the radiuses I could route. And I thought, man, because I do that sometimes with on the edge, you want to cut like a radius, and you want to make sure you get a nice round corner. You usually wind up grabbing a paint can or something like that to get close. Well, I said, well, if you could dial it in, that'd be cool. But the problem is, this ain't round in no shape, form, or fashion. Like, it's just kind of wonky. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? They show it's all round, looks all cool, makes it look fancy, and it's hard to turn. Like, that's as far out as I can get it to go. This is just trash, and I wasted my money on it. I bought this set, or this roll of double stick tape to try out, and man, is it too sticky to use. If you need double stick tape that sticks and don't let go, this might be your best option. This stuff is so sticky. I stuck it on this piece of board a while ago just to see how well it worked, and it is, like, even on your hands, it is sticky. This is not my favorite double stick tape for using on the CNC or anywhere else, just because it is so sticky. Now, I've used it on making a template to cut out the router table insert. I mean, the backing comes off just fine, but getting it off the board is, oh my God, just like as soon as I stuck it, like you saw how long it's been on there, it is gonna take, after it's on there and stuck good for an hour or something, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, it's gonna be a pain to remove. It even pulled the pencil marks up off the board. This stuff is super sticky. While we got the board out, I did order a moisture meter to see if it was any good. The ones I've ordered off Amazon in the past have been not great, but this is super cheap, and so I'm assuming it's not gonna be great. For a good quality, top of the line moisture meter, you're looking at like $500 for those things. While they work, most of these cheap ones work well in pine, spruce, and the other softwoods because it can get those probes in there. This has been measuring about 6% consistently on this board. I believe it, this board has been in the shop for months. This is my little scrap board I always use here. And so you're getting about 6.5% moisture in this one. I think this will be fine for this type of wood, but in hardwoods, it doesn't, a lot of times you can't get those probes in there good enough to get an accurate reading. And I just find that it just doesn't work that well on those. Will it this? I don't know, let's find out. It's a piece of walnut. It's kind of a one from the CNC. It's rating 0%, and we know that it has some moisture in it. Again, trying to rate this or trying to get a moisture meter on hardwood is just, these cheap ones just don't work well. I wouldn't recommend it for that. If you want to just take it to the big box store at Home Depot and stick it in lumber and see if you're getting pretty close to, you know, at least, what, 12, 13% or less, it'd probably be all right. I wouldn't just trust it with my life though. These are Knipex or Knipex, however you want to say it, pliers. These are high quality, top-notch pliers that you can buy, but they're also very expensive, especially for what you're getting or the size you're getting, but they're very good. I mean, they're really good. You're getting what you pay for. I saw these and I immediately thought of Knipex because they look very similar, but they're not. You can tell the metal's a little bit thicker. It's also a different feeling type metal, probably some type of other alloy of some type, but they are kind of basically made similar. The way this locking head works, there's more teeth on this one than this one. If you're needing a cheap pair of pliers for your shop, these are pretty decent, but these are much better, much higher tolerances. Also, the padding or grip on the handles are mumuch better. This is just a cheap coated plastic. These are okay. These are really good. I bought this because I have no idea why. I thought it would look neat, but it's not. It's like a little plier. I don't know. I'm an idiot. That's trash. Next up is flush trim saw. If you don't have one of these are really handy to have, but they're also very cheap on Amazon. I would much rather you go get a good Suizan brand than this one, but I bought this one to see if it was any good. It's okay. It's not bad. It does fold up, so if you're carrying it in your pocket for whatever reason, you can throw this in your pocket and you won't cut yourself. I mean, it's all right, you know. We all need a saw in the pocket, right? But, I mean, it's okay. It looks like it has finer teeth on one side, more coarse on the other. if you're cutting dowels, things like that with these. The handles are nice. It does have a nice grip or a nice tension to it. It's okay. It's just okay. Get the Suizan one. Much better, much higher quality. The Suizan made in Japan. These are made in China. You're gonna get a better cut quality with these. Next up, I bought this caliper because the Matutuya brand, or whatever you call this one, is very expensive, like $150. This is also extremely accurate and it works extremely well. The problem is it's expensive. This one was cheap, but I didn't get a battery with it. And it comes with like a weird sized battery. I don't even have a battery to fit it, so I can't even tell you if it's any good. If you want a caliper and you want to search for a battery, then you can get a cheap one there, or you could just bite the bullet and get a Matutuya brand. Now, if you don't want to spend the big money on the Matutuya brand, there is a really good eye gauging one that's highly recommended by Tay Tools. I'll link it in the description. I'm getting one of these myself just to try them out, but for $40, really good option. This is almost offensive, right? That's not a gripper. That is. The gripper, iconic push stick for your table saw, right? It can go over the blade. I use this thing I use it all the time. This is one of the most used push sticks at the table saw for me. I like the fact that I can adjust this little leg here. If you're ripping thin stock or whatever, it kind of gives you a little extra balance there. This is a direct rip-off. I actually highly recommend you not buy this just because it's ripping off Microjig's design, the time and the effort they put in, and the money they put in to develop this. I know I contributed to it because I bought it, but I was like, it can't be the same, right? Can it? Can it be the same? It is very similar. Not the same, but very, very similar. The Microjig one is much better built and the handle feels better, but the grip pads feel exactly the same. The hardware is different on the cheap knockoff versus this, but you can tell this is a direct ripoff. There's very little difference. Okay, so Microjig's using like a T-slot here, and they're just using like a bolt-through design here. So they did change it a little, but it is so close. I don't know. Don't buy this one. Buy this one. If you do pocket hole construction, a right angle clamp will be beneficial to you. This is the Kreg version. This thing is invaluable if you're putting plywood together and you need to just clamp it down. I've used this in many videos in the past. This is high quality. I've had this for several years now. It looks like the day I bought it. It's just perfect, works great. This is kind of a similar design type thing. This arm will pivot a little bit. Pivot! I mean, how useful is that? I don't know, you tell me. It's all right, but it'll work. I mean, it'll clamp down your projects and you can use that. It's cheaper than this one. The Kreg will probably last you longer. This feels a little jinky feeling, but it also feels like it would work all right. Spring-loaded center punch, it does all right. So if I was trying to intersect those 2 points, I wanted to drill a hole at that exact point. That's what this is great for. The problem is this thing is very, very sharp. It's like sharp as a nail, so it really digs a hole in there. And if you don't get it just right, you're gonna have a time trying to get it centered back when you go to drill. It's okay. There's better ones out there. I'll link to my favorite in the description. Next up, Pica pencil. If you've not had a chance to use a Pica pencil, they're fantastic, especially if you're working with darker hardwoods, purple heart, walnut, anything like that. Because of that yellow lead you can put in there, these work really well. This is not a Pica pencil. This is a Pica pencil knockoff, and it is not good. Pica pencils are well-made pencils, and they're kind of pricey at $20. My favorite, all-time favorite is the Pentel Graph Gear. I keep it right here in my handy-dandy TrueWork pocket. This is a fantastic pair of work pens. I keep it there all the time, but the Pica pencils are useful to have. I like that they have the yellow leads. The problem with this one is it just doesn't operate correctly. This is a complete waste of money. Other than the lead, you get the lead, it looks the same type of lead that Pica pencils using, red, yellow, and the regular graphite color, but the pencil itself is complete garbage. One man's trash is another man's treasure, right? So inside this box of tools were some hidden gems. I'm going to cover those in a future video. If you'd like to see that, comment below, hit that subscribe button. In the meantime, click that box right there. Click in the box, get you the big old virtual fist bump. Temu has some gems. I'm going to show them to you soon.